Hey everyone, Felix from Nintendo Life here, and yes, we're finally here to review for you Hollow Knight Silksong for the Nintendo Switch 2. This review was written by the stupendous Alana Higgs and has been adapted into this video by me. Hollow Knight Silksong didn't need to do much. It just needed to be more Hollow Knight. But that's a huge task in itself. A slightly bigger, slightly better version of an already amazing, genre-defining game. It's clear though that after 7 years of refining, perfecting and toiling, Team Cherry wanted more than just more Hollow Knight. Hours and hours of love have been poured into every single aspect of Silksong, and that shows as the attention to detail is off the charts and the surprises just keep coming. It elevates map design and purposeful challenge effortlessly and is an improvement on Hollow Knight in every single way. We knew from the moment we first stepped into Farloom and were wowed by its beautiful color palette and eclectic mix of bug NPCs that we'd fall in love with this game. But the moment that truly cemented it for us was when we were struck with a revelation, very literally, by being hit by an enemy for 2 masks of damage instead of 1. Barbs, spikes and booby trap benches lay in waiting to catch you off guard. Saw blades and pits are just out of view to punish a dashing hornet. One time we stood on a switch that activated a blade that killed us in 1 hit after a tricky platforming challenge. We couldn't stop laughing, and also we owe Primal Aspits from the first game an apology. Farloom hates you, and it hates Hornet, but we adore it. Its workers slave away until death, and the coils of religion and silk are wrapped around many of the pilgrims wandering around the world. The golden and white faded halls of the Citadel are far from a safe haven for the people. The very harshness of Silksong is baked into every aspect, including the narrative, which enriches everything about the game for us. Sometimes it's relentless, but that's kind of the point. Eventually, every moment of frustration turned into elation as we mastered each environment and challenge put in front of us. Every time we opened up a new bellway, we'd smile as the bell beast emerged and stomped her feet excitedly. Whenever we found a flea and freed it from a cage or woke it up from a nap, we'd imitate a high-pitched "Ow!" Farloom is an oxymoron of a world, a twisted knot of beauty and terror with small pockets of joy and secrets to discover that made us fall in love with failure. And what a world it is to fail in too. Farloom is still a somber world, but it's a rainbow compared to the muted tones of Hallownest. It also pops beautifully on Switch 2 and feels perfect at 120 FPS. When we think of Silksong's world, we think of the ornate converted bells made into homes and the thickets of leaves in the background of the swamps, all accompanied by Christopher Larkin's incredible score. The poignant strings of Hunter's March is one of our favorites, hinting at the kingdom of the ant's fate from times past. Clockwork cores, ticking and piano notes helped us time our platforming perfectly. And then there is the incredibly fast-paced strings of some of the fights with an onslaught of violence and shallows to match the snappy movement. While failure is common, it's alleviated by the fact that Hornets' movement is sublime. She's much faster than the knight from the get-go, and that only grows the more skills she learns. Being able to dash and attack at the same time blows combat and platforming wide open, as does being able to heal mid-air. You can see where Team Cherry has learned from some of Hollow Knight's fiddly platforming and taking advantage of Hornet's full range. Climbing up a blizzard-ridden mountain or hopping over thorny pits feels seamless when you nail it. Because of how fast Hornet moves, we didn't really realize how big the map was until we reached Act 2 and pulled it up. It's staggering to look at in comparison to Hollow Knight, and no room is purposeless or empty. Even if you find a dead end, come back later and you'll find a surprise or secret. NPCs who just seem like flavor text eventually become key figures. Everything matters, and everything has a place. It's the same with combat, where Hornet has so many more options than the Knight. While Hornet has 4 different basic attacks, you can completely change these by equipping different crests. We fell in love with the Reaper crest, which changed Hornet's idle slash into a wide-arching, slightly slower needle swipe. But they all have their value. One late game crest turned Hornet's running stab into a double slash which shredded foes in our path, while another allowed us to drain enemy health and go berserk mode whenever we used our Silk to bind, aka heal. This customization is off the charts when you throw in tools and Silk skills, sub-weapons and magic-like attacks that allow Hornet to set traps and throw items from a distance or even parry and counter. Some tools provide passive effects like adding poison to your damage or letting you grab onto walls without sliding down them. We tinkered around with these for boss fights and trials meticulously, as sometimes poison isn't as effective or a boss could parry your own projectiles. Silksong is tough, but really only in the sense that the skill floor is much higher than Hollow Knight's was. Once you learn to weave tools, skills and movement into combat, victory tastes delicious in the way that we only really felt during Hollow Knight's best fights. Most of these came from the DLC, which is where Silksong has plucked much of its boss philosophy from and refined. At their best, bosses are a ballad of movement and action, where every action has a reaction, and you move almost rhythmically. If it sounds like we're good at the game, we're not. We died a lot and spewed many expletives as we tried again and again to master these dances. But the joy of a Metroidvania is that you can walk away and find something else to do to power yourself up. It's the in-game equivalent of taking a breather, doing something a little less intense, grabbing a bit of extra money to buy a new tool or discovering a new crest that better suits your playstyle. Our only real gripe is with the currency in the late game. A patch has helped reduce the cost of some of the endgame stuff, but we always found ourselves a bit short on rosaries for tools and upgrades and shards to rebuild those tools. Nothing a few minutes of fast-paced pilgrim murdering didn't solve, but a tiny bit more leniency wouldn't go unappreciated. But after spending over 60 hours with Silksong, it's not the cruelty or the rare stringent movement that sticks with us. It's the triumph. It's the hauntingly beautiful choral music echoing in the Citadel's chambers. It's the friendship Hornet forged throughout the kingdom. It's the tears we've shed after beating a particularly beautiful boss. Silksong is a game that demands everything from you, but it returns just as much. The Last Judge is hard because it's the final guard before the Citadel, and in return for finally overcoming it, you get so much more to explore, even better maps and even better bosses. There are multiple paths you can take to certain quests that change the difficulty or reward you with different equipment. The way that areas blend together as you approach new biomes hints at what's to come. Silksong's map tells a story of suffering and struggling that reinvigorates the way that a Metroidvania map can be utilized. Obstacles exist for a reason, not just for some fun platforming, and it completely understands how to blend its Souls and Metroidvania inspirations and make something purposeful. We fought some of the hardest bosses since Sekiro and Shadow of the Erdtree and emerged triumphant. We've been at the very bottom, picked ourselves up, come back and sliced through challenges like butter over and over again. And yet somehow we still have more to uncover. But we'd gladly wipe our memory, go through the struggle, and perfect the techniques all over again. So, in conclusion, Hollow Knight Silksong's beauty is beguiling, hiding an interior that's deliberately harsh but endlessly rewarding. Everything feels deliberate, pushing you to learn, improve, and perfect, or simply just explore a little more. And what a world it is to dig into. Somehow, Team Cherry has surpassed our expectations tenfold and delivered a mesmeric blend of balletic combat and movement with persistence, joy, and an incredible invigorating map at the center. We've never felt better surmounting the challenges put in front of us, and we're already raring to do it a second time. We here at Nintendo Live give Hollow Knight Silksong for the Nintendo Switch 2 a 10 out of 10. And now with the review done, it is time for Felix's personal thoughts. Now, I loved Hollow Knight. It's one of my favorite games of all time, so it was safe to say that I was very excited for Hollow Knight Silksong, and the wait, well, it was long, it was painful, but we're finally here. I've played 40 plus hours of the game so far. I'm not done. This game is huge. Does it live up to my expectations? Oh my god, yes, this game is fantastic. It is one of the best games that I have played. I don't know how it surpassed my expectations because they were so sky high, but it is just so good. There's so much to explore. The bosses are literally the best in any game I've ever played. Are they hard? Yes, they are, but I don't think I've struggled as much as I've seen other people online. I've had a really, really fun time with these bosses. I think they're expertly crafted. I think the difficulty is just right. Well, for the most part, I've stumbled upon one boss, which I thought, oh, that was way too easy compared to how big of a spectacle it seemed to be in the trailers, and others where I have almost ripped my eyes out of my skull because, oh my god, the waves just keep on coming. But yeah, 95% of the bosses are just absolutely fantastic. The consistency is outstanding. Now, one thing that surprised me was actually the 120 FPS mode. Before this game, I didn't really get the hype of 120 FPS. I tried it out briefly before in games like Marvel Rivals and Mina the Hollower, but I wasn't really convinced. But a friend of mine, Paul, pushed me to give the 120 FPS mode another go, and well, now I can't look back. Hornet feels a lot more responsive, and I suddenly just felt like I got that bit better. Like switching back and forth, although like the visual still doesn't change that much for me, it's how it feels, and in a game like this, that really matters. Now, does Silksong do everything better than Hollow Knight? No, I don't think so, but it is the vast majority. In Hollow Knight, I think some of the music, some of the environments are just a little bit more iconic, if that makes sense. It is still really, really, really good. And as an overall game, I do think Silksong is better than Hollow Knight. The quality of life improvements and the missions. Oh my god, I have to talk about the missions because there is so many, and these give you a reason to go back into, well, places you've been before and fight these enemies because you need certain items. Also makes it more interesting when you find an NPC in the middle of nowhere and suddenly, oh, they need you to find something for them. It just gives them more purpose. I love the HUD elements of these missions, like, oh, you need to collect these 5 different items or something like that, and then you can see like the outline of them, and then when you get them, they have this really beautiful illustrate. Yeah, there's just so much attention to detail, and this game is just attention to detail. Everything just feels thought out. Every platform, every room. It's so satisfying to progress in this game because Team Cherry just knows exactly what rewards feels best to get in that moment. Sure, I might have a bit too many memory lockets at the moment, but that's also just a fault of me for not really experimenting with the other crests, because I really, really like the Reaper crest, just like Alana. There are some instances where I felt lost and it's like, oh, what do I do now? I feel like I've explored everything, and I was very close to searching it up, but trust me, don't do it. Just keep exploring. It is so satisfying and rewarding when you finally find the place where you can progress. But thank you all so much for watching to the end of this video. If you enjoyed it, why don't you swap out that crest to a proper good subscribe hitting one and, well, whack it! Stay safe, do play some Hollow Knight Silksong. It is a fantastic experience, and we'll see you in the next one. Felix from Nintendo Life, out.